Right now, as you're listening to these words, you possess the most powerful creative force in the universe, and most people never realize it exists. This force has shaped every great achievement in human history, built every empire, created every masterpiece, and solved every problem that seemed impossible. Yet it sits dormant in most minds, waiting to be awakened and unleashed upon the world. What I'm about to share with you isn't just theory or philosophy. It's a practical system that will fundamentally change how you approach every desire, every goal, and every dream you've ever held. The power I'm speaking of is your imagination, and today you're going to discover how to harness it to create the life you've always wanted. Most people live their entire lives completely unaware of the creative power that lies dormant within their imagination. They bow before the harsh dictates of their current circumstances, accepting life based solely on what they can see and touch in the world around them. They become prisoners of their present reality, never realizing they hold the master key to unlimited possibilities. But when you truly discover this creative power within yourself, when you understand how to wield it with precision and purpose, you will boldly assert the supremacy of imagination over every limitation that has ever held you back. You will put all things in subjection to your creative vision, transforming not just your circumstances, but your entire destiny. Here's what most people don't understand. When we speak of the divine creative force within human beings, we're talking about nothing other than your imagination. This is the creative power that shapes reality itself. There is absolutely nothing under heaven that isn't as malleable as potter's clay to the touch of your focused, purposeful imagination. Let me share a story that will illustrate just how powerful this force truly is, and why you should never doubt its ability to transform your life completely. I once knew a man who loved to listen to teachings about imagination, but whenever he heard these concepts, he would nervously touch his chair with his fingers and push his feet firmly into the rug beneath him, desperately trying to keep his sense of physical reality intact. He was afraid to let go of what he could see and feel, afraid to trust in the invisible power of his creative mind. But let me tell you about someone who didn't need to touch anything to keep herself grounded. Someone who trusted completely in the power of her imagination, and witnessed it transform her life in the most extraordinary way. She was just 17 years old, and it was Christmas Eve. Her heart was heavy with grief, because earlier that year, she had lost her father in a tragic accident. Now she was returning home to what felt like an empty house, working as a waitress because she had no other training or skills to fall back on. On this particular night, it was quite late, and rain was falling steadily as she rode the streetcar home. The car was filled with laughing young people returning from their Christmas vacations, their joy only emphasizing her loneliness and despair. Tears began streaming down her face, but fortunately the rain provided perfect cover for her sorrow. Then something remarkable happened. Instead of surrendering to her circumstances, this young woman made a conscious decision to use her imagination to transform her reality. As she held onto the rail of that streetcar, feeling the motion and hearing the sounds around her, she closed her eyes and made a powerful declaration. This is not rain falling on my face. This is spray from the ocean, carried by the sea breeze. This salty taste I'm experiencing isn't from my tears of sadness. It's the salt of the sea in the wind. And this isn't a streetcar traveling through San Diego. This is a ship, and I'm approaching the beautiful Bay of Samoa. She didn't just think these thoughts casually. She felt them with every fiber of her being. She gave her imagination complete sensory vividness, making the experience so real that she could actually feel herself on that ship, approaching that distant shore. She maintained this powerful visualization until the streetcar journey ended, and she had to return to her physical reality. Here's where the story becomes truly extraordinary, and why you should pay very close attention to what I'm about to tell you. Just 10 days after this imaginative experience, this young woman received a letter from a law firm in Chicago. The letter informed her that several years earlier, when her aunt had sailed for Europe, she had deposited $3,000 with specific instructions if she did not return to America. This money should be paid to her niece. The firm had just received confirmation of the aunt's death and were now acting upon her instructions, sending this young woman enough money to completely change her circumstances. 1 month later, exactly 1 month after her imaginative journey on that rainy streetcar, this young woman found herself on an actual ship sailing toward Samoa. As she came into the bay late that night, there was indeed salt of the sea in the wind. It wasn't raining, but there was spray in the air, and she experienced the exact same sensations she had imagined just weeks before, only this time, she had realized her objective in physical reality. This story illustrates a profound technique that I want to teach you today. A method for putting your wonderful imagination directly into the feeling of your wish fulfilled, allowing it to remain there while you fall asleep in that state of accomplishment. I can promise you from my own extensive experience that if you can actually feel yourself living in the reality of your fulfilled desire, and if you continue in that feeling until you fall asleep, you will inevitably realize that state in your physical world. The process works like this. You must feel yourself completely into the situation of your fulfilled desire, remaining there until you give it all the tones of reality, until you provide it with all the sensory vividness that you're capable of generating. As you maintain this state and quietly fall into sleep, you set in motion forces that will move you across a series of events, leading you toward the objective realization of your desired state. You could never consciously devise the means that will be employed to bring your vision into reality, but that's not your job. Your job is simply to feel the reality of your fulfilled desire with such intensity that it becomes more real to you than your current circumstances. And here is the practical technique that will transform your life, if you apply it consistently and with complete faith in its power. First, you must know exactly what you want in this world. Clarity is absolutely essential. Vague desires produce vague results, but crystal clear intentions, backed by emotional intensity, create miraculous transformations. Once you know exactly what you want, create as lifelike a representation as possible of what you would see, what you would touch, and what you would do if you were already living in that desired state. For example, suppose you wanted a beautiful home, but currently had no money to purchase one. Instead of focusing on your current limitations, you would create a detailed mental image of the exact home you desire, complete with all the furnishings and features that would bring you joy. Then, each night as you prepare for sleep, you would enter a drowsy, relaxed state that borders upon sleep. In this receptive condition, you would imagine that you are actually living in that house. You would mentally step off your current bed and onto the floor of your dream home. You would move from room to room, touching the furniture and feeling it to be solidly real under your hands. While you are touching and experiencing this imaginary house with complete sensory involvement, you would allow yourself to drift into natural sleep, maintaining the feeling of actually being there until consciousness fades into slumber. This same technique can be applied to achieve success in any area of your life. If you desired a promotion in your career, you would ask yourself what additional responsibilities would be yours if you received this advancement. What would you do differently? What would you say? How would you act? What would others say to you? Then, in your imagination, you would begin to see, touch, and act exactly as you would if you already held that position. You would give yourself the full sensory experience of living in that elevated state until it becomes completely real to your subconscious mind. If you were seeking your ideal romantic partner, you would imagine yourself already in that loving relationship. You would feel the reality of being loved and cherished, perhaps even imagining yourself wearing a wedding ring, if marriage is your goal. You would touch that imaginary ring repeatedly, feeling its weight and texture until it seems completely real to your senses. The key is to maintain these imagined experiences until they arouse within you the exact feelings you would have if they were already your reality. Then you sleep in that state of fulfillment, allowing your subconscious mind to work out the details of manifestation. This technique has been taught throughout history by the world's greatest spiritual teachers, though it was often presented in symbolic form that many people misunderstood as mere historical accounts. The secret lies in centering your imagination completely in the feeling of your wish fulfilled and remaining there with unwavering faith. Your capacity to live in the feeling of your wish fulfilled is directly proportional to your capacity to live the more abundant life that is your birthright. Most people are afraid to imagine themselves as important, noble, and successful individuals who make significant contributions to the world. This fear exists because the moment we begin to assume a greater version of ourselves, our logical mind and physical senses immediately deny the truth of our assumption. We feel gripped by an unconscious urge that makes us cling desperately to the familiar world of our current limitations, resisting everything that threatens to tear us away from our seemingly safe but ultimately restrictive circumstances. Here's a crucial distinction that will determine your success or failure with this method. There is a vast difference between thinking of what you want and thinking from what you want. When you think of your desires, you remain in your current state, looking at your goals as distant possibilities. But when you think from your desires, when you assume the feeling of already having them, you occupy that state mentally and emotionally, making it your current reality in consciousness. Imagination puts you in touch with a world of infinite states and possibilities. These states are not mere fantasies. They are real, existing potentials that become overpoweringly real when you think from them and dwell within them consistently. Let me share a personal experience that will demonstrate the incredible power of this technique when applied with complete faith and persistence. In 1933, while living in New York City, an old friend taught me this principle by referencing a passage from Scripture. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you, I go to prepare a place for you. He explained that these mansions were not physical buildings in some distant heaven, but rather the states of consciousness we can occupy through imagination. He told me that if I would make a living representation of any desired state, and then enter that state and abide in it, I would inevitably realize it in my physical experience. At that time, I wanted to make a trip to the island of Barbados in the West Indies, but I had no money for such a journey. Following his instruction, each night as I fell asleep in my New York apartment, I assumed that I was sleeping in my father's house in Barbados. For one full month, night after night, I maintained this assumption as I drifted into sleep. At the end of that month, I received an invitation from my family, inviting me to spend the winter in Barbados. I sailed for Barbados in early December of that year, and from that moment forward, I knew I had discovered the most powerful creative force within myself. Here's an advanced technique that will accelerate your progress and help you overcome past disappointments and setbacks. I call it the art of revision, and it's something you should practice daily. Each night before sleep, instead of simply reviewing your day and accepting everything that happened as final, you should mentally revise the day's events to conform to your ideals. If you receive disappointing news, revise that news mentally and imagine receiving the information you wished you had gotten instead. If you didn't receive a letter or call you were hoping for, imagine that you did receive it and feel the satisfaction of that positive communication. If you had a difficult conversation with someone, replay that conversation in your mind with a completely different, more positive outcome. Let me share a remarkable example of how this revision technique worked for one woman who heard me speak about these principles. This lady had been ordered out of her daughter-in-law's home 2 years earlier, and there had been no communication between them since. She had sent her grandson at least 24 presents during this time, but not one had ever been acknowledged. After learning about revision, she decided to take action. Each night as she prepared for sleep, she mentally constructed 2 letters, one from her grandson and one from her daughter-in-law. In these imaginary letters, both expressed deep affection for her and wondered why she hadn't visited them. For 7 consecutive nights, she held these imaginary letters in her mind, reading them over and over until they aroused within her the complete satisfaction of having actually received such communications. Then she would fall asleep in that state of fulfillment. On the 8th day, she received an actual letter from her daughter-in-law. Inside that envelope were 2 letters, one from her grandson and one from the daughter-in-law. These real letters practically duplicated word for word the imaginary letters she had been reading to herself for the previous week. This art of revision and creative imagination can be powerfully applied to matters of health and healing. If you're dealing with illness or injury, bring before your mind's eye the image of a trusted friend or family member. Put upon their face an expression that implies they see you as completely healthy and vibrant. Imagine them saying to you that they've never seen you look better, and hear yourself replying with complete conviction, "I have never felt better." If you have a specific physical issue, construct a mental drama that implies you are doing all the activities you would do if that condition were completely healed. Repeat this imaginative exercise over and over until it takes on the complete tones of reality in your mind. Whatever you repeatedly do in your imagination, you will eventually do in your outer world. This is not wishful thinking. This is a precise psychological and spiritual law. The one essential requirement for success with this method is to arouse your attention in such a way and to such intensity that you become wholly absorbed in your revised or desired reality. When you achieve this level of mental and emotional involvement, you will experience an expansion and refinement of your senses through this imaginative exercise. Eventually, you will achieve clear vision in the inner world of imagination, and this inner vision will inevitably manifest as outer experience. The abundant life that has been promised to humanity is yours to enjoy right now, but only when you recognize and utilize the creative power of your imagination. Persistent imagination, centered completely in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, is the secret of all successful operations. This alone is the means of fulfilling every intention and realizing every dream. Every stage of human progress is made possible by the conscious, voluntary exercise of imagination. This is why all great poets and visionaries throughout history have emphasized the supreme importance of controlled, vivid imagination. As the great William Blake wrote, "In your own bosom you bear your heaven and earth, and all you behold, though it appears without, it is within, in your imagination, of which this world of mortality is but a shadow." The time has come for you to test this power for yourself. Choose one specific desire that matters deeply to you, something that would genuinely improve your life and bring you lasting happiness. Create a clear, detailed mental image of yourself already living in the reality of that fulfilled desire. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, assume the feeling of already having this desire completely realized. Maintain that assumption with sensory vividness until you drift into natural sleep. Continue this practice night after night with unwavering faith and persistence. I can promise you this, if you apply this technique with consistency and complete belief in its power, you will prove to yourself that your imagination is indeed the creator of your reality. You will join the ranks of those who have discovered humanity's greatest secret, that we are all equipped with the divine power to consciously create our lives through the proper use of imagination. The question is not whether this power exists, it does. The question is whether you will have the courage and persistence to use it. Your future is waiting for you to create it. The time to begin is now. What if I told you that right now, in this very moment, you are creating your entire future with nothing more than your imagination? What if everything you've ever wanted is not just possible, but inevitable? If you understand this one fundamental truth that most people never discover, stay with me, because what I'm about to share will completely revolutionize how you see yourself and your power to create. Welcome to this profound exploration of your divine creative power. I am deeply honored that you have chosen to be here with me today, for we are about to embark on a journey that will fundamentally alter your understanding of who you are and what you are capable of. You know, there was a time in my own life when I believed that my circumstances were fixed, that my past dictated my future, and that I was somehow at the mercy of forces beyond my control. But what I discovered, and what I'm about to share with you, changed everything. It will change everything for you too, if you truly understand it. Let me ask you something deeply personal. Are you enjoying the expansion of your desires? Are you delighting in the very act of wanting what you want? This is not a trivial question. It's actually the key to understanding your entire creative process. You see, when you truly enjoy your desires, when they feel natural and inevitable to you, It means something profound is happening within your consciousness. It means your imagination, your true creative faculty, is aligned with your wish. But when you want something that feels impossible, when you desire something but cannot imagine it belonging to you, those desires become painful, don't they? Here's what most people never realize. That pain, that feeling of impossibility, is not because your desire is wrong or unrealistic. It's because you're experiencing what I call contradictory imagining. You're imagining yourself as someone who wants something, while simultaneously imagining yourself as someone who cannot have it. This internal contradiction is the source of all human suffering, and it's completely unnecessary. Listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you, because this will transform your life. You are not the physical being you appear to be. You are pure imagination, having a human experience. Your imagination is not some faculty of your mind, it is God Himself, individualized as you. When the Bible says God created man in His own image, it's not talking about your physical appearance. It's talking about your power to imagine, to create through consciousness alone. Think about this for a moment. Every single thing that exists in your physical world was first imagined by someone. The chair you're sitting on, the device you're using to watch this, the building you're in, all of it began as an imaginal act. But here's what's even more profound. Your entire life, every circumstance, every relationship, every condition, all of it is the outpicturing of your habitual imaginal acts. Most people live their entire lives never realizing this. They think they're victims of circumstance, prisoners of their past, or subject to the whims of an external world. But the truth is, you are the operant power in your world. You are the cause of everything that happens to you, not through your actions, but through your assumptions. I remember when this truth first dawned on me. I was struggling with a particular situation that seemed completely beyond my control. I felt powerless, frustrated, and trapped. But then I began to understand what assumption really means. An assumption is not just a thought or a belief. It's a state of consciousness that you occupy. When you assume something to be true, you're not just thinking it, you're being it. Now let me share with you the most practical application of this truth. Every night, as you fall asleep, you have the opportunity to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. This is not mere positive thinking or wishful dreaming. This is the conscious use of your imagination to create your reality. Picture this. You lie down in your bed, and instead of reviewing the day's problems, or worrying about tomorrow's challenges, you enter into an imaginal scene that implies your desire is already fulfilled. You don't imagine the process of getting what you want. You imagine having it. You don't imagine yourself hoping or trying or working toward your goal. You imagine yourself already being the person who has achieved it. The secret is not in the vividness of the scene, though that helps. The secret is in the feeling. Can you feel the reality of your imagined state? Can you feel what it would be like to be the person who has what you want? This feeling is the key that unlocks the door to manifestation. But here's where most people stumble. They've been practicing limitation for so long that it has become their dominant assumption. They think the same thoughts, feel the same emotions, and imagine the same limitations day after day, year after year. Then they wonder why their lives don't change. Your beliefs are nothing more than thoughts you've thought so often that they feel true. But here's the liberating truth. What you call reality is simply your most persistent assumption. If you don't like your reality, assume something different. I once knew a man who had been unemployed for months. He was constantly imagining himself as unemployed, constantly feeling the frustration and fear of not having work. He would wake up every morning and immediately imagine the day ahead as another day of rejection and disappointment. He was unknowingly using his imagination to perpetuate his unwanted condition. When I explained this to him, he understood. That very night, he began to imagine himself as employed. Not looking for work, not hoping for work, but actually employed. He would fall asleep imagining himself at his desk, feeling the satisfaction of meaningful work, sensing the security of a steady income. Within 2 weeks he received a job offer that was better than anything he had previously imagined possible. This brings us to a profound realization. There is no objective reality out there that you need to conform to. There is only consciousness. And consciousness is the only reality. What you call the physical world is consciousness crystallized, imagination made manifest. This means that every single person in your world is you pushed out. Every relationship, every interaction, every experience is a reflection of your own state of consciousness. When you change your assumptions about yourself, you automatically change your assumptions about others, and they must conform to your new conception of them. Now I want you to understand something crucial about the nature of assumption. When you assume something to be true, you're not trying to convince yourself that it's true. You're not arguing with contrary evidence or forcing yourself to believe something that seems impossible. You're simply dwelling in the state of consciousness that corresponds to your wish fulfilled. Think of it this way. If you wanted to go to New York, you wouldn't stand in Los Angeles trying to convince yourself that you're in New York. You would simply travel to New York. Similarly, if you want to experience a different reality, you don't try to convince yourself from your current state. You simply move to the state of consciousness that corresponds to your desire. The beauty of this understanding is that it makes you completely free. You're not dependent on external circumstances to change before you can be happy. You're not waiting for other people to behave differently before you can feel fulfilled. You're not postponing your joy until some future condition is met. You can enter into the feeling of your wish fulfilled right now, this very moment. Here's what I promise you. If you will consistently assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, if you will persist in this assumption regardless of what your senses tell you, if you will remain faithful to your new concept of yourself, your world must conform to your assumption. This is not a possibility, it's a law. It's as certain as the law of gravity. The question is not whether this will work. The question is, are you willing to be disciplined enough to assume what you want to be true, even when your current circumstances suggest otherwise? Most people want to see the change before they believe it. They want proof before they have faith. But I'm telling you, you must believe it before you see it. You must assume it before it manifests. This is the order of creation. Imagination first, manifestation second. This requires a complete reversal of how most people think. Instead of reacting to your circumstances, you must learn to create your circumstances through your imaginal acts. Instead of being a victim of your past, you must become the author of your future. Instead of being at the mercy of the world, you must realize that the world is at the mercy of your imagination. I invite you to test this principle in your own life. Choose something you desire. Not something small and insignificant, but something that would genuinely transform your experience. Tonight, as you fall asleep, imagine yourself in possession of this desire. Feel the reality of it. Assume it to be true. And then, no matter what happens in the days that follow, persist in this assumption. But I must warn you, this is not a game. This is not positive thinking or wishful dreaming. This is the conscious use of the divine power within you. When you truly understand and apply this principle, you will never again be able to see yourself as powerless or at the mercy of external circumstances. You will realize that you are the God of your own world, the creator of your own experience, the author of your own story. This knowledge brings with it tremendous responsibility, because you can no longer blame anyone or anything else for your experience. But it also brings with it tremendous power, because you can create any experience you choose. So here's my final question for you. Who do you want to be? Not what do you want to have, not what do you want to do, but who do you want to be? Because whoever you consistently assume yourself to be, you will become. Whatever you persistently imagine yourself to be, you will manifest. The choice is yours. You can continue to live by default, assuming whatever circumstances and past experiences have conditioned you to assume. Or you can live by design, consciously choosing what to assume about yourself and your world. Remember, your imagination is not limited by your past, your circumstances, or what others think is possible for you. Your imagination is limited only by what you are willing to assume to be true. I leave you with this truth. You are far more powerful than you have ever imagined. You are the operant power in your world. You are pure consciousness, having a human experience, and right now, in this very moment, you have the power to assume yourself to be anything you choose to be. The question is not whether you can create the life you desire. The question is, will you use your imagination, Assume your desire fulfilled, persist in your assumption, and watch as your world transforms to match your innermost convictions about yourself. You are the creator of your reality. It's time to start creating consciously. If this resonates with you, if you're ready to take responsibility for your creative power, then I invite you to share your own experiences in the comments below. What will you assume about yourself starting tonight? What reality will you create through the power of your imagination? Remember, you don't need to see it to believe it. You need to believe it to see it. The time is now. The power is yours. Use it wisely.
Good evening, my friends. Tonight I am going to reveal to you the most powerful state of consciousness for manifestation. Tonight you will learn about the theta state, a specific brainwave frequency where the barrier between your conscious and subconscious mind dissolves completely. Tonight you will discover how to access your subconscious directly, bypassing all resistance, all doubt, all limiting beliefs. You will learn how to program your subconscious in minutes, what would otherwise take months of repetition and effort. This is not advanced technique. This is not difficult. This is simply understanding when your subconscious is most receptive and using that window of opportunity to plant the seeds of your desires. Let me start by explaining something you experience twice every single day, but have never consciously used for manifestation. Twice a day, once as you fall asleep and once as you wake up, your brain passes through a specific state of consciousness. Scientists call this the theta state. It is the border between waking and sleeping, between conscious and subconscious, between the outer world and the inner world. In this state, your brain waves slow down. You are no longer in the beta state of normal waking consciousness. You are not yet in the delta state of deep sleep. You are in theta, a dreamlike twilight state where the conscious mind relaxes its grip and the subconscious becomes directly accessible. This state lasts only a few minutes. But in those few minutes, you have direct access to the subconscious mind without the interference of the conscious mind. Think about what this means. Every night as you drift towards sleep, there is a window, a precious window of 5 to 10 minutes, where your subconscious is wide open, receptive, suggestible, ready to accept whatever you impress upon it. And every morning as you emerge from sleep, there is another window, another 5 to 10 minutes, where your subconscious is still accessible before the conscious mind fully awakens and reasserts control. Most people pass through these states unconsciously. They fall asleep thinking random thoughts, worrying about tomorrow, replaying the day's problems. They wake up and immediately check the news, flooding their receptive subconscious with whatever anxiety or distraction appears on the screen. But you who are learning this tonight, you can use these states deliberately. You can program your subconscious directly in these moments of theta access. Now let me explain why the theta state is the most powerful time for impressing your subconscious. During normal waking consciousness, your conscious mind acts as a gatekeeper. It filters, it analyzes, it judges, it resists. When you try to impress a new idea on your subconscious, I am wealthy, I am loved, I am successful, your conscious mind immediately objects. But you are not wealthy. Look at your bank account. But you are not loved. You are alone. But you are not successful. Look at your circumstances. The conscious mind, with its attachment to current facts and past experiences, blocks the new impression from reaching the subconscious. This is why affirmations often fail. This is why visualization sometimes feels forced. The conscious mind is standing guard, rejecting anything that contradicts what it believes to be true. But in the theta state, the conscious mind is drowsy. Its grip loosens, its resistance fades. The gatekeeper falls asleep at the post. And when the gatekeeper is asleep, you can walk directly into the vault of the subconscious and place whatever you want there. In the theta state, there is no resistance, there is no doubt, there is no argument. The subconscious accepts whatever impression you give it as fact. This is why hypnosis works. Hypnosis is simply the deliberate induction of the theta state, so that suggestions can bypass the conscious mind and go directly into the subconscious. But you do not need a hypnotist. You do not need special training. You enter the theta state naturally twice a day. You simply need to learn how to use it. Let me go deeper into why programming the subconscious in theta is so effective. Your subconscious mind is the creative power within you. It is the part of you that builds your body, that orchestrates the functions of your organs, that heals your wounds, that creates your reality. The subconscious does not reason. It does not judge. It does not question. It simply accepts and creates. Whatever the subconscious accepts as true, it must create in your experience. This is law. This is how consciousness operates. If your subconscious accepts that you are poor, it must create poverty in your experience. If it accepts that you are sick, it must create sickness. If it accepts that you are unloved, it must create loneliness. But if your subconscious accepts that you are wealthy, it must create wealth. If it accepts that you are healthy, it must create health. If it accepts that you are loved, it must create love. The subconscious has no choice. It must outpicture whatever is impressed upon it. So the question is not whether the subconscious will create. The question is, what have you impressed upon it? What does it currently accept as true? Most people have impressed limitation upon their subconscious. Through years of negative thinking, through acceptance of lack, through absorption of other people's beliefs, they have programmed their subconscious to create limited, difficult, struggling realities. But the subconscious does not care what is impressed upon it. It will just as easily create abundance as lack, success as failure, health as sickness. It simply creates whatever it has been programmed to create. And the theta state is the most effective time to reprogram it. Now let me teach you exactly how to use the 2 theta windows each day. The first and most powerful theta window occurs as you fall asleep at night. As you lie in bed and your body begins to relax, your brain waves naturally slow down. You pass from beta, waking consciousness, through alpha, relaxed awareness, into theta, the drowsy twilight state just before sleep. In this state, you are conscious enough to direct your thoughts, but drowsy enough that the conscious mind's resistance has faded. You are in the perfect state for impressing the subconscious. This is why I have always taught the last thought you think before falling asleep is the most important thought of your day. Because that last thought, that last feeling, that last assumption sinks directly into your subconscious without interference. Your subconscious accepts it as instruction, and your subconscious works all night to make that instruction your reality. If you fall asleep thinking about problems, your subconscious accepts problems as the reality to create. If you fall asleep feeling poor, your subconscious accepts poverty as the state to maintain. If you fall asleep worrying, your subconscious accepts worry as the instruction for tomorrow. But if you fall asleep in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, if you fall asleep assuming your desire is already done, your subconscious accepts that as reality. And it works all night to reorganize your world to match. The second theta window occurs as you wake up in the morning. As you emerge from sleep, you pass through the same theta state in reverse. For the first few minutes after waking, before you fully return to beta consciousness, your subconscious is still accessible. This is a sacred time. This is when your subconscious is most impressionable, before the concerns of the day flood in, before the conscious mind reasserts its limiting beliefs. Most people waste this window. They immediately think about their schedule, their problems, their responsibilities. They flood their receptive subconscious with stress and limitation right at the moment it is most open to programming. But you can use this window deliberately. The moment you wake, before you move, before you open your eyes fully, before you think about the day ahead, assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Those first few minutes of waking consciousness are pure gold for manifestation. Use them. When you wake in the morning, do not move immediately. Do not jump out of bed. The moment you sense you are awake, while you are still in that drowsy, half-asleep state, return to the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Before the conscious mind fully awakens and starts listing all the reasons why you do not have your desire, impress the feeling that you do have it. Spend just 2 or 3 minutes in this feeling. That is all you need. The subconscious is so receptive in this state that even a few minutes of clear impression will work powerfully throughout your day. Then rise and go about your day, knowing that you have planted the seed deeply in the most fertile soil of your subconscious. Let me emphasize something crucial. In theta state programming, the feeling is everything. You are not trying to visualize in great detail. You are not trying to construct elaborate mental scenes. You are impressing a feeling, because feelings are the language of the subconscious. The subconscious does not respond to words. It does not respond to pictures alone. It responds to feeling. When you feel wealthy, the subconscious accepts wealth as your state. When you feel loved, it accepts love as your reality. When you feel successful, it accepts success as your identity. The feeling impresses the subconscious, and what is impressed must be expressed. So do not strain to visualize perfectly. Do not worry about getting every detail right. Simply capture the feeling of already being, already having, already living the reality you desire. Hold that feeling as you drift to sleep. Return to that feeling as you wake. Let the feeling sink into the theta state and impress itself on your subconscious. This is the technique. This is direct access. Now let me explain why theta state programming succeeds where other methods often fail. When you try to impress your subconscious during the day, during normal waking consciousness, you are fighting against the conscious mind's resistance. You are trying to convince yourself of something your conscious mind rejects. It is exhausting. It requires tremendous willpower, and often the conscious mind wins. But in the theta state, there is no fight. There is no resistance. The conscious mind is drowsy and permissive. It does not argue. It does not object. It simply allows. So the impression goes in cleanly, deeply, without obstacle. One impression in theta can be more powerful than 100 affirmations spoken during the day. One feeling held in theta can outweigh hours of visualization practiced in beta consciousness. This is why I've always emphasized the importance of your state at bedtime. This is why I've taught you to live in the end as you fall asleep. Because that is when the subconscious accepts without question. That is when programming happens effortlessly. Once you are in theta, once you have assumed the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you can create what I call a feeling loop. You hold the feeling. The feeling deepens the theta state. The deeper theta state makes the feeling more real. The more real the feeling, the deeper the impression. The deeper the impression, the more your subconscious accepts it. It becomes a self-reinforcing cycle. You go deeper and deeper into the feeling, deeper and deeper into theta, and the impression becomes more and more powerful. This is how you program your subconscious in minutes, what would otherwise take months. Now, while the natural theta windows at sleep and waking are the most powerful, you can also induce theta-like states during the day. Whenever you deeply relax, during meditation, during a quiet moment of rest, during that drowsy feeling after a meal, you can slip into a lighter theta state. In these moments, the conscious mind's grip loosens. The subconscious becomes more accessible, and you can use these moments for quick reprogramming. A woman I knew would take a short rest every afternoon. She would lie down, close her eyes, and within a few minutes, she would enter a light theta state, relaxed, drowsy, but still conscious. In this state, she would spend 5 minutes feeling herself living in her desired reality. She would feel the reality of having her desire so completely that it became more real than her current circumstances. She did this every single day, twice a day actually, once in the afternoon and once before sleep. Within 3 months, her entire life had transformed. The job she desired appeared. The relationship she wanted manifested. The financial freedom she sought became her reality. Not because she worked hard at manifestation, not because she spent hours visualizing, but because she used theta state programming consistently, allowing her subconscious to accept and create her desired reality without resistance. Here is something profound. While your conscious mind sleeps, your subconscious never stops working. All night long, while you are unconscious, your subconscious is active. It is processing, it is creating, it is organizing your reality based on whatever was last impressed upon it. This is why the feeling you fall asleep in is so critical, because that feeling becomes the blueprint your subconscious works from all night. If you fall asleep in the feeling of wealth, your subconscious spends 8 hours working to create wealth. If you fall asleep in the feeling of love, your subconscious spends 8 hours arranging circumstances to bring love into your life. Your subconscious is building the bridge of incidents while you sleep. It is orchestrating synchronicities, aligning opportunities, rearranging your world to match the state you impressed upon it in theta. This is effortless manifestation. You are not forcing anything. You are not struggling. You are simply impressing your subconscious in its most receptive state, and then allowing it to do what it naturally does, create your reality. This relates to what I have taught about the Sabbath, the day of rest where you do no work. When you impress your subconscious in theta, when you feel your desire fulfilled and then drift to sleep, you are entering your Sabbath. You are resting in the knowledge that it is done. You are not trying to make it happen. You are not anxiously working to manifest. You have planted the seed in theta. You have impressed the subconscious. Now you rest. You let it work. This is the Sabbath principle. Do your work, the work of assuming the feeling, and then rest, knowing the subconscious will bring it to pass. Theta state programming is the perfect embodiment of this principle. You do your 2 minutes of work in theta, impressing the feeling, then you sleep, resting in the confidence that the subconscious is creating your desire while you do nothing. Let me tell you about a man who understood theta state programming and used it to transform his life completely. He had been struggling financially for years. He tried various manifestation techniques, affirmations, vision boards, action steps, but nothing created lasting change. He would make a little progress, then slide back into lack. When he learned about theta state programming, he realized his mistake. He had been trying to change his reality through conscious effort during the day, but he had been falling asleep every night in the feeling of lack, worrying about bills, feeling stressed about money, thinking about his problems. Every night he was programming his subconscious for more lack. 8 hours of subconscious creation based on the wrong impression. He changed his approach. Every single night, as he felt himself entering theta, the drowsy state just before sleep, he assumed the feeling of financial freedom. He felt what it would feel like to have abundant money, to pay bills easily, to make purchases without concern. He did not visualize specific amounts. He did not imagine specific scenarios. He simply felt financially free. And he held that feeling as he drifted to sleep. Every morning as he woke, he returned to that feeling before getting out of bed. 2 or 3 minutes of feeling financially free while still in the morning theta window. He did this consistently for 30 days, morning and evening, every single day, programming his subconscious directly in theta without the interference of his conscious mind. And within 30 days, his financial situation began to shift. An unexpected tax refund, a freelance opportunity, a promotion at work, small changes at first, then larger ones. By 90 days, his entire financial reality had transformed, not through struggle, not through extraordinary effort, but through consistent theta state programming that impressed his subconscious with a new reality. His subconscious accepted the new impression, and it created the new reality. The truth is, your subconscious is always ready to create whatever you impress upon it. It is not resisting. It is not judging. It is simply waiting for clear instruction. The problem has never been your subconscious. The problem has been getting past the conscious mind to reach the subconscious. And now you know the solution. The theta state, the natural gateway that opens twice a day. The window of direct access where you can bypass all resistance and program your subconscious exactly as you choose. Tonight when you go to bed, you are going to use the evening theta window deliberately. As you lie down and feel yourself becoming drowsy, recognize this is theta. This is the moment of direct access. Choose one desire, just one, and assume the feeling of already having it, not the excitement of getting it, not the hope that it might come, but the calm, natural feeling of already being in that reality. Hold that feeling. Let it be the last thing you feel before sleep. Let it sink into your subconscious without resistance. Tomorrow morning, the moment you wake, before you move or think about your day, return to that feeling. Feel it again. Impress it again in the morning theta window. Do this every single day for the next week, morning and evening. Consistent theta state programming. And watch what happens. Watch how your subconscious, having received clear instruction without resistance, begins to create your desired reality. This is not difficult. This is not complicated. This is simply using the natural state of consciousness you already experience twice a day. You have been passing through theta your entire life without knowing how to use it. Now you know. Now you can access your subconscious directly and program it deliberately. Your subconscious creates your reality. Whatever is impressed upon it must be expressed in your experience. For years you have been impressing it unconsciously, with worry, with doubt, with acceptance of limitation. Now you can impress it consciously. In theta, when the door is open, when there is no resistance, 2 windows a day, 5 minutes each. That is all you need. Morning theta, feel the wish fulfilled. Evening theta, feel the wish fulfilled. Your subconscious accepts. Your subconscious creates. Your reality transforms. This is direct access. This is theta state programming. This is how you bypass all resistance and plant your desires directly in the creative soil of your subconscious mind. Use it. Thank you, and good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I'll see you in the next video.
My friends, tonight I want to reveal to you the most profound secret about manifestation. A secret so powerful that once you truly grasp it, your entire reality will transform before your very eyes. Everyone talks about manifestation as if it's this magical process where you set an intention, think positively, visualize the outcome, and then the universe delivers what you asked for. But I must tell you the uncomfortable truth that most teachers will never share with you. Manifestation doesn't work simply because you want it to. It doesn't respond to your desire. It doesn't answer your affirmations. It responds to something far more powerful, far more consistent, and far more subconscious. It responds to your energetic state of being. This is the fundamental principle that most manifestation teachers either don't understand or don't emphasize enough. You can repeat affirmations all day long. You can write your goals in a journal. You can meditate, visualize, create vision boards. These tools are all useful, my dear friends. But if deep down, your emotional signature is still rooted in lack, fear, doubt, or unworthiness, then those are the frequencies you're broadcasting into what the mystics call the quantum field. And this field, as modern quantum physics now shows us, doesn't respond to your intentions. It responds to your signal. I want you to understand something profound. Your personality creates your personal reality. But what I really mean is that your habitual thoughts and emotions form an energetic blueprint that the field then reflects back to you as your life circumstances. So the real secret isn't about asking for what you want. It's about becoming the version of you who already has it. It's about aligning your mind, your heart, and your body into a coherent signal that the universe can recognize and mirror back. This is where most people become trapped, my friends. They set intentions, but remain emotionally addicted to their old patterns. They say they want abundance, but live in a state of scarcity. They claim they want love, but operate from fear of rejection. They strive for health, but hold on to stress and resentment. And so, despite all their conscious efforts, nothing changes. They keep seeing the same patterns, meeting the same challenges, attracting the same types of relationships and opportunities. Or worse, they manifest what they fear instead of what they desire. This is not bad luck. This is not failure. This is the fundamental principle at work. The quantum field responds to your subconscious programming far more than to your conscious desires. It's not about what you're thinking once in a while. It's about what you're being all the time. And here's where it becomes even more fascinating. Your subconscious patterns are not just mental, they are embodied. Your body has become so conditioned to your past emotional states that even when your mind says, I am abundant, your body screams, I am still broke. This internal conflict sends a mixed signal to the quantum field. And in quantum mechanics, Coherence is everything. Without coherence, there is no constructive interference, no amplification of your signal, no collapsing of the desired potential into manifested reality. This is why so many people feel like manifestation doesn't work for them. They try, they push, they affirm, but they don't shift their energetic baseline. They don't realize that manifestation is not about getting what you want. It's about becoming a vibrational match to the reality you want to experience. When you truly understand this, when you get this at the deepest level, you experience the breakthrough that makes manifestation instantaneous. But here's what you must understand. This transformation can't happen through willpower alone. You can't fake it till you make it by forcing yourself to think different thoughts. The subconscious mind and the body must be reprogrammed at the emotional and energetic levels. This is why true transformational practices focus not just on visualization, but on evoking elevated emotional states, gratitude, love, abundance before the external circumstances change. Because when you feel abundant, even while your bank account is empty, you are sending a new coherent signal to the field. And the field, being a mirror, responds in kind. Now, let me address something crucial. Most people misunderstand the process entirely. They believe that by changing their thoughts alone, they can change their lives. It's the classic teaching. Change your thoughts, change your reality. And while there is truth in that statement, it's dangerously incomplete. Thought is powerful, but it is only one part of the equation. If thought were enough, then every person who ever made a vision board would be living their dream life by now. If repeating affirmations every morning guaranteed change, then everyone would be wealthy, healthy, and deeply fulfilled. But reality shows us something else entirely, that many who think positively still find themselves trapped in old cycles, repeating patterns of struggle, scarcity, and frustration. Why is that? Because the quantum field does not respond to what you are thinking occasionally. It responds to the signal you are emitting consistently. And your signal is not just made up of your thoughts. It is a synthesis of your beliefs, your emotions, your subconscious programs, and your energetic state. Research in epigenetics shows us that it is the subconscious mind that drives 95% of our behavior and perceptions. That means, while your conscious mind may be diligently affirming abundance, your subconscious is still running programs of lack, fear, unworthiness, or failure. The quantum field is impartial. It does not weigh your wishes against your fears. It simply mirrors back to you the dominant frequency you are emitting. And if your emotional signature, the feelings that you are most practiced at, remains rooted in scarcity, then no amount of positive thinking will override that signal. This is why the concept of coherence is so crucial in this work. Coherence between your thoughts and your feelings. When what you think and what you feel are in conflict, the signal is incoherent, scattered, disorganized, weak. But when they are aligned, when you think thoughts of abundance and simultaneously feel abundant, then your signal becomes powerful, coherent, and magnetic. This is the cornerstone that most manifestation advice leaves out. It's not about thinking your way to success, but about feeling your way into alignment. Emotion is the language of the body, and your body is the instrument that transmits your energetic signal into the field. If your body is addicted to the stress hormones of survival, like cortisol and adrenaline, then it doesn't matter how many times you say, "I am abundant." Your body is still saying, "I am in danger." And it is that emotional baseline, not your affirmations, that the quantum field is responding to. This is why so many people feel stuck. They believe they are doing all the right things. They meditate, they visualize, they repeat affirmations, but they don't feel any different. And because they don't feel different, they keep broadcasting the same old signal into the field. The result, the field mirrors back the same old reality. You must understand, it is not enough to think about what you want. You must become it emotionally and energetically before it arrives. The subconscious mind, shaped by years of past experiences, traumas, beliefs, and cultural conditioning, acts like a filter. It determines how much of your conscious desires can actually pass through into your lived experience. And unless you deliberately reprogram this filter, your manifestations will continue to be blocked or distorted by old subconscious scripts. Now let me help you understand something profound about the nature of reality itself. The quantum field is a realm of infinite possibilities. Every potential outcome already exists as a wave of probability waiting to be collapsed into form by your observation and vibrational match. But here's what most don't realize. You don't observe with your eyes alone. You observe with your entire being, your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, and your energetic state. The observer effect is not just a scientific principle, it is a spiritual technology. When you observe your desired reality with thoughts of longing and feelings of lack, you are not truly aligned with that reality. You are observing it as something separate from you, something you hope to one day achieve. But when you observe it as something that already exists within you, when you assume the emotional state of already having it, you collapse that potential into form. This is why thought alone doesn't work. Because unless it is infused with the corresponding emotional and energetic frequency, it remains a mere possibility rather than a manifested reality. The science of instant manifestation is not about wishful thinking or magical rituals. It's about aligning your entire being, your thoughts, your emotions, your subconscious patterns, and your energetic state with the reality you want to experience. At the most fundamental level, everything in the universe is made up of energy vibrating at specific frequencies. This includes your thoughts, your emotions, your physical body, and every object and experience you can perceive. The quantum field is a vast sea of potential, a matrix of infinite possibilities where all potential realities exist simultaneously as probability waves. These waves remain in superposition, existing in multiple states at once, until they are collapsed into a single observable reality through an act of observation. But here's what many don't realize. You are always observing, always measuring, not just with your physical senses, but with your consciousness, your beliefs, your expectations, and your emotional state. Your very presence as a conscious being is a continual act of observation that influences how reality materializes around you. The quantum field doesn't respond to random thoughts or fleeting desires. It responds to the dominant frequencies you embody most consistently. This is where the concept of resonance becomes crucial. When a system vibrates at a particular frequency, it can cause another system to begin vibrating at that same frequency, a phenomenon known as entrainment. In the context of manifestation, when your internal state is vibrating in resonance with the reality you desire, the quantum field begins to entrain to your signal, organizing circumstances, opportunities, and synchronicities that bring that potential reality into form. This is why instant manifestation is possible. Not because you have manipulated the universe through force, but because you have become such a coherent, resonant signal that the field has no choice but to reflect that frequency back to you. It's like tuning a radio. When you align precisely with the frequency of the station you want to hear, the music becomes clear and immediate. But if you are even slightly off, all you get is static and distortion. When you are in coherence, your body moves out of the survival state and into a state of creation. In this state, your brain waves shift, your heart emits a more organized electromagnetic field, and your entire being becomes a precise, resonant transmitter, broadcasting your desired reality into the quantum field. The field, in turn, responds by collapsing the potential that matches your frequency. This is the essence of instant manifestation, not an act of willpower, but an act of resonance. You don't force the universe to comply with your desires. You align yourself so completely with your desired reality that the universe has no choice but to respond. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. This simple, yet profound instruction is the key to instant manifestation. It's not about waiting for external evidence to feel successful, abundant, loved, or healthy. It's about generating those feelings now, independent of circumstances, thereby aligning your signal with the reality where those conditions already exist. Now that you understand the science, let me share with you how to actually activate this missing key within yourself. How do you shift from intellectual understanding to embodied practice, from conceptual knowledge to lived experience? The first and most essential step is to move from thinking to feeling. The thoughts we think are the electrical charge in the quantum field, but it is the emotions we feel that provide the magnetic component. Together they create an electromagnetic signature that broadcasts our state of being into the quantum field. But here's the critical point. Most people try to change their lives by only changing their thoughts, neglecting the emotional programming that continues to emit the old familiar signal of their past. To activate the missing key, you must begin by deliberately cultivating elevated emotional states, not in response to external conditions, but as a conscious choice independent of circumstances. This means feeling gratitude before the thing you desire arrives, feeling abundance before the money shows up, feeling love before the relationship manifests. This is the true secret. When you feel as if your manifestation is already present, you collapse the potential from a wave of probability into a particle of reality. Your heart, for example, has its own electromagnetic field, measurable several feet beyond your body. When you experience emotions like gratitude and love, your heart's field becomes more coherent, sending harmonious signals to the brain and shifting your body into a state of regulation and balance. This state of heart-brain coherence is not just pleasant. It is essential for creating a powerful unified signal that the quantum field can recognize and respond to. True transformational practices are structured precisely for this purpose, to help people break free from the habitual patterns of their past and to entrain their bodies to the emotions of their future. When you practice elevated emotional states consistently, your body learns to trust that new state as your new normal. This is how you overcome the biological addiction to survival emotions like fear, anger, and unworthiness. But emotional mastery alone is not enough. The second step is embodiment. This means that your new state of being must be integrated not just in meditation, but in your daily life. How do you carry yourself? How do you speak, act, and make decisions? Are your behaviors aligned with the reality you are intending to manifest? If you want to manifest success, but your habits reflect procrastination and self-sabotage, then you are not embodying the signal of success. Embodiment requires that you show up every day as if you already are the person you are becoming. You make decisions from that place. You set boundaries from that place. You relate to others from that place. This is where the missing key becomes active, not just in isolated moments of meditation, but as a continuous state of being. The third crucial element is presence. Most people live their lives caught in the familiar past or the predictable future, rarely inhabiting the present moment. But manifestation occurs in the now, because the now is the only place where the quantum field is accessible. The field is not something out there in some distant future. It is here, vibrating around you and through you at all times, waiting for you to tune your signal and engage with it consciously. Presence means letting go of the known, your habitual thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, and stepping into the unknown, where all possibilities exist. This can feel terrifying because the known, even if uncomfortable, is familiar and predictable. The unknown requires trust. Trust in yourself. Trust in the process. Trust in the intelligence of the field. The field is a mirror. It reflects not what you desire, but who you are being in this moment. One of the most effective ways to cultivate presence is through breath work. Conscious breathing brings your awareness out of the mental noise and into the body, grounding you in the here and now. It shifts your physiology out of the stress response and into a state of openness, allowing you to access the deeper layers of your subconscious and to broadcast a more coherent signal. Another essential tool is visualization, but not in the superficial sense of imagining images in your mind's eye. True visualization involves embodying the emotional and physiological state associated with the vision. It's about rehearsing in your body the experience of already living that reality, until your nervous system no longer distinguishes between what is imagined and what is real. Neuroplasticity ensures that the brain rewires accordingly, creating new neural pathways that support your new identity. In practical terms, it means that you wake up each day and deliberately choose to think, feel, and act in alignment with your desired reality. It means that when old triggers arise, you recognize them for what they are, vestiges of your past programming, and you choose to respond differently. It means that you stop waiting for your external reality to change before you feel good, and instead, you make feeling good your new baseline, knowing that your internal state is the cause, not the effect. When you live this way consistently, something remarkable happens. The gap between intention and manifestation shrinks. Synchronicities increase. Opportunities arise seemingly out of nowhere. People, resources, and experiences align with precision and speed. Now that you've learned how to activate the missing key behind manifestation, you stand at a threshold. The moment where theory must become practice, where knowledge must evolve into embodiment. This is the point where you shift from living as a passive observer of your circumstances to becoming a conscious creator of your reality. And this shift changes everything. It is no longer about reacting to life, about waiting for external conditions to improve, so that you can finally feel happy, abundant, or loved. It is about realizing that your internal state is the creative force that shapes the very fabric of your existence. The field doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to who you are being consistently, day after day, moment after moment. To live as a conscious creator means to take radical responsibility for your energy. It means acknowledging that your thoughts are not harmless musings, but powerful frequencies that ripple through the quantum field, influencing the probabilities that collapse into your lived experience. It means recognizing that your habitual emotions are not just responses to your environment, but creative forces that magnetize experiences to you. This level of responsibility can feel overwhelming at first, because it dismantles the comforting illusion that life happens to you. But within this responsibility lies your greatest freedom. Because if you are the one creating your reality through your energetic signature, then you have the power to change it at any time. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are the architect of your destiny. Living as a conscious creator requires vigilance and compassion. Vigilance to become aware of the moments when you slip back into old patterns, when fear, doubt, or unworthiness attempt to pull you back into familiar states of being. And compassion to understand that these patterns are not flaws, but survival mechanisms you developed to navigate the world in the past. They served a purpose, but they no longer define you. We are never more powerful than when we are conscious of our power. This is the essence of conscious creation, to know beyond doubt that your reality is a direct reflection of your energetic state, and that by mastering that state, you can shape your life in profound and miraculous ways. But remember, becoming a conscious creator is not a destination. It is a practice. It is a way of being that you cultivate through your choices, your attention, and your presence. Some days will feel effortless. Others will feel challenging. But every moment offers you an opportunity to realign, to choose coherence, to embody the version of you who is already living the life you desire. The field is always listening. It does not judge. It does not discriminate. It simply reflects. So the question you must ask yourself is not whether this works. It is always working. The question is, are you ready to align with it consistently, courageously, and consciously? Your journey doesn't end here. It is just beginning. The next version of you, the one who lives effortlessly in alignment with your highest desires, is already waiting within you. All that remains is for you to step into that version, to broadcast that signal into the field, and to allow the universe to mirror it back to you in ways more beautiful and abundant than you can possibly imagine. So take a breath, feel the gratitude for what is already unfolding. The field responds not to your words, not to your wishes, but to your state of being. And the moment you change that state, you don't need to ask for your manifestation anymore. It becomes inevitable. My dear friends, tonight I want to speak to you about 3 sacred pillars that hold up the temple of manifestation: expectation, belief, and detachment. These are not mere concepts to be understood intellectually, but living forces that, when properly wielded, transform the very fabric of your reality. For too long, humanity has wandered in the wilderness of wanting, hoping, and struggling. But I tell you tonight that there is another way, a way that transforms you from a beggar, pleading with the universe, into a king, claiming his rightful throne. Let's start with the power of expectation. Expectation is not hope. Hope lives in the future, always reaching, always wanting. Hope says, maybe someday. Hope keeps you forever in the state of lack, perpetually waiting for tomorrow's promise. But expectation, true expectation, lives in the present moment as a certainty of what is. When you truly expect something, you don't wonder if it will happen. You simply know it already has. You carry within you the unshakable conviction that your desire is not a wish, but a fact, already established in the realm of consciousness, waiting only for time to reveal what has already been accomplished. Think of a child on Christmas morning. The child doesn't hope there are presents under the tree. The child expects them. There's no anxiety, no doubt, just pure anticipation of what is already promised. The child doesn't lie awake wondering if the parents will forget, or if Santa might not come. The expectation is so complete, so natural, that it never occurs to the child to doubt. This is the state you must cultivate. Your expectation must be so natural, so assumed, that it becomes like breathing. You don't effort to breathe. It simply happens. Your heart doesn't strain to beat. It beats because that is its nature. Your desired reality must become so natural to your consciousness that you live from it, not toward it. I have seen people struggle because they confuse expectation with desperation. Desperation says, I need this to be happy. It carries within it the frantic energy of lack, the desperate clinging of someone drowning. True expectation says, this is already mine. I'm simply allowing it to unfold in the physical world. It carries the calm confidence of someone who has already received their gift and is simply waiting for the wrapping to be removed. The difference is profound. Desperation pushes your desire away through its very neediness. Expectation draws it near through its natural magnetism. When you expect from a place of already having, you become irresistible to your desire. Let me share with you the secret of cultivating true expectation. It begins with a shift in your relationship to time. Most people live as if the present moment is preparation for some future fulfillment. They say, when I get this, then I'll be happy. When this happens, then I'll feel complete. But the awakened soul knows that the present moment is the fulfillment. Your imagination, functioning now, is more real than anything your senses report. When you imagine your desire fulfilled, you are not pretending. You are entering the realm where all things already exist in their perfected state. I want you to understand something that will revolutionize your entire approach to manifestation. Your imagination is not separate from reality. It is reality in its most pristine form. What you imagine with feeling and acceptance becomes the blueprint from which your physical world reorganizes itself. So when you imagine your desire fulfilled, you're not engaging in fantasy. You're entering the factory where your future is being manufactured. The expectation that follows such imagining is not hope, but recognition. You recognize what you have already experienced in consciousness. Now let us turn to belief, that mighty foundation upon which all creation rests. Belief is not something you think about, it's something you are. Your beliefs are not opinions. They are the very assumptions that create your world. Every single thing in your experience right now exists, because at some level, you believed it into being. Look around you right now. Everything you see was once unmanifest, existing only in someone's imagination. The chair you sit on, the device you're listening on, the very room that surrounds you. All of it began as an invisible idea that someone believed could become physical reality. But here's what most people miss. You don't need to believe in the method. You don't need to believe in the law of assumption itself. You don't need to understand quantum physics or metaphysics or any other system of thought. You only need to believe in the reality of your fulfilled desire. When you were a child learning to walk, you didn't study the mechanics of balance and muscular coordination. You didn't analyze the complex interplay of gravity and momentum. You simply believed you could walk, and your body followed that belief. Your desire to manifest works the same way. The tragedy I witness is people trying to manufacture belief through repetition and force. They repeat affirmations like incantations, hoping that saying something enough times will make it true. They strain and effort, trying to convince themselves of something their heart doesn't accept. True belief is gentle. It settles into your consciousness like morning dew, quietly, naturally, inevitably. You don't create belief. You simply stop disbelieving. You don't add something new to your mind. You remove the barriers to what your heart already knows. Belief is born in the marriage of imagination and feeling. When you imagine your desire fulfilled and feel the emotions that such fulfillment would naturally produce, belief is the child of this union. It's not something you must work to achieve. It's something that naturally arises when imagination and feeling combine. Think of the last time you watched a movie that moved you to tears. In that moment, were you trying to believe in the story? Of course not. The combination of visual imagery and emotional involvement created such a natural state of belief that you forgot you were watching actors on a screen. Your body responded as if the events were real because, to your consciousness, they were. This is exactly how you must approach your desired reality. Don't try to believe in it. Experience it so vividly in imagination, with such genuine feeling, that belief becomes inevitable. I have observed that people often sabotage their own belief through what they call being realistic. They say, I don't want to get my hopes up, as if hope were dangerous, as if belief were foolish. But I ask you, what is realistic? Is it realistic to accept limitation when you are made in the image of limitless creativity? Is it realistic to settle for less when you are capable of so much more? The truly realistic person recognizes that consciousness is the only reality, and that within consciousness, all things are possible to those who believe. Now we come to perhaps the most misunderstood principle, detachment. People hear this word and think they must become cold, indifferent, or stop caring about their desires. They believe detachment means suppressing their wants or pretending they don't matter. This is not detachment. This is denial. And denial is just another form of resistance. True detachment means you care deeply about your desire while being completely free from the outcome. You love your desire so much that you're willing to let it come to you in ways you never imagined, at times you never expected, through paths you never considered. This is the supreme paradox of manifestation. The more you can love something without needing to control it, the more powerfully it flows toward you. The more you can want something without being desperate for it, the more magnetic you become to its fulfillment. Detachment is the supreme confidence that what is yours by divine right cannot be kept from you. It's like planting a seed and then allowing the earth to do its work. You don't dig up the seed every day to check if it's growing. You trust the process. You don't stand over it with worry and anxiety. You water it with faith and let it be. When you're truly detached, you stop chasing your desire and allow it to chase you. You stop trying to control how it happens and simply know that it happens. This shift from force to flow is where miracles live. Detachment is not indifference. It's ultimate trust. It's the recognition that your desire exists in consciousness first, and that consciousness is far more intelligent than your limited human perspective. When you detach, you're not giving up on your desire. You're giving it permission to manifest in ways that exceed your current ability to imagine. I have seen people hold their desires so tightly that they strangle them before they can be born. They become so attached to specific outcomes, specific timelines, specific methods, that they close themselves off to the infinite ways that love seeks to express itself through their lives. The person who is truly detached says, I know what I want, and I know it's already mine. I don't need to figure out how it's going to happen, because that's not my job. My job is to maintain the consciousness of already having it, and let infinite intelligence handle the details. This kind of detachment doesn't come from not caring. It comes from caring so much that you trust completely. It's the difference between a helicopter parent who hovers anxiously over their child and a wise parent who provides guidance but allows their child the freedom to grow. Now here lies one of the deepest mysteries of manifestation. You must be in complete control of your inner world, while being in complete surrender to the outer world. You must be the absolute dictator of your consciousness, while being the humble servant of life's unfolding. Your thoughts, your mental images, your emotional states, these are your domain. Here you reign supreme. You choose what to focus on, what to imagine, what to feel. This is your sacred responsibility and your divine power. But the how, the when, the through whom of your manifestation, this is not your concern. This belongs to the infinite intelligence that knows how to grow a flower from a seed, how to heal a cut on your finger, how to keep your heart beating without any conscious effort from you. When you try to control both the inner and the outer, you create tension and resistance. When you surrender both the inner and the outer, you create powerlessness and victimhood. But when you control the inner and surrender the outer, you create magic. These three forces, expectation, belief, and detachment, must work together like dancers in perfect harmony. They are not separate techniques to be practiced independently, but aspects of one unified state of consciousness. Expectation without belief is fantasy. You may expect something, but if you don't truly believe it's possible, you're just playing pretend. Belief without detachment is desperation. You may believe something is possible, but if you're desperately attached to how and when it happens, you create resistance that blocks its flow. Detachment without expectation is resignation. You may be unattached to outcomes, but if you don't expect anything good to happen, you're in a state of indifference that creates nothing. But when they unite, when expectation, belief, and detachment dance together in your consciousness, when you expect with the innocence of a child, believe with the certainty of the sun rising, and detach with the wisdom of the ages, you become unstoppable. You become a magnet for miracles. In this state, manifestation becomes as natural as breathing. You don't strain or effort or manipulate. You simply hold your desire lightly in consciousness, feel its reality with every fiber of your being, and trust completely in its perfect unfolding. I want you to understand something profound. Your desire chose you. It didn't appear in your consciousness by accident. Of all the billions of people on this earth, your particular desire knocked on the door of your particular heart. Why? Because you are the perfect vehicle for its expression. Your desire is not separate from you. It's an aspect of your own divinity seeking to know itself through form. When you want something, it's life itself wanting to express more of its infinite potential through your unique perspective. This is why resistance to your desires is resistance to life itself. This is why denying your wants is denying your purpose. Your desires are the way that the infinite intelligence of the universe seeks to expand itself through your individual expression. So stop apologizing for wanting what you want. Stop feeling guilty for desiring more. Stop believing that wanting good things for yourself is somehow selfish or wrong. Your desires are holy. They are the way that love seeks to know itself more fully through your experience. The practical application of these principles begins with a simple recognition. The present moment is the only place where your power exists. Not in the past, which is gone, not in the future, which is yet to come, but right now, in this eternal present, where consciousness meets experience. In this moment, you can choose to expect the fulfillment of your desire. In this moment, you can choose to believe in its reality. In this moment, you can choose to release your attachment to how it unfolds. And in making these choices, you transform not only your future, but your present reality. For the person who truly understands these principles, life becomes a continuous miracle. Everywhere they look, they see evidence of consciousness creating reality. Every desire that manifests strengthens their faith. Every coincidence reveals the hand of infinite intelligence working on their behalf. Tonight, as you go to sleep, I want you to feel the satisfaction of your fulfilled desire, not as something you're working toward, but as something you're grateful to already possess. Feel the relief, the joy, the deep contentment of having what you've wanted. Let your expectation be so natural that it requires no effort. Let your belief be so deep that it needs no proof. Let your detachment be so complete that you're at peace, whether it comes tomorrow or next year, because you know beyond any shadow of doubt that it is already yours. This is not positive thinking. This is not wishful hoping. This is not self-deception or fantasy. This is the deliberate creation of your reality through the conscious direction of your imagination, guided by love and sustained by faith. You are not trying to get something you don't have. You are simply allowing something you already possess in consciousness to make itself known in your physical experience. You are not begging the universe for favors. You are claiming your birthright as a creative being made in the image of the Creator. Remember, you are not the beggar asking for scraps from an indifferent universe. You are not the victim of circumstances beyond your control. You are not limited by your past, your current conditions, or other people's opinions of what's possible for you. You are the operant power of your world, the author of your story, the creator of your experience. Everything you need is already within you. Every desire you've ever had is already fulfilled in the realm of consciousness, waiting only for your recognition and acceptance. The person who truly grasps these principles never again feels powerless. They may face challenges, they may encounter delays, they may need to navigate obstacles, but they never again doubt their ability to create the life they desire. They understand that consciousness is the only reality, that imagination creates reality, and that love is the force that transforms the invisible into the visible. So go forth with this knowledge. Expect the best, believe in the impossible, and release your attachment to how it all unfolds. Trust in the intelligence that beats your heart and grows your hair and heals your wounds to orchestrate the perfect unfolding of your desires. Your new life begins the moment you truly know this truth. And that moment, my dear friends, is now.
There comes a moment in every journey when the unseen becomes louder than the seen, when the whisper within you carries more authority than the world around you. And that moment is now. What you have been asking for, longing for, praying for, it is not something you are going to manifest, it is something that is already done. Creation was finished the moment the desire was born in you. The desire was not a request, it was a revelation of what is already yours in the invisible. Every shift in your life begins with a shift in your inner self. Before anything changes out there, it must first change in here. You are not waiting for the world to move. The world is waiting for you to accept that the change has already taken place. Close your eyes for a moment and step into the version of yourself who has already crossed the bridge, who has already received the blessing, who already lives the reality you once feared might never come. Feel that version. Embody that version. Become that version. Because the instant you do, life has no choice but to rearrange itself around you. The evidence around you right now may not reflect it yet, but never let the shadow of the old convince you that the new has not arrived. What you see in the physical world is simply the afterglow of former thinking. It is outdated, delayed, expired. Your new reality is not built by what you see. It is built by what you accept as true within you. And if you dare to hold the feeling of the end, even when nothing seems to be changing, the unseen will begin to move with a force you cannot comprehend. Doors will open, people will shift, circumstances will bend in ways that defy logic, because the moment you choose the state of the wish fulfilled, your reality must obey. It must conform, it must transform. So hear this clearly. You are not hoping for a miracle. You are aligning with one already completed. You are not waiting for your breakthrough. You are stepping into a breakthrough that has been waiting for you. Your new reality is not coming, it is revealing itself. Stand firm in the knowing, hold the inner vision, live from the end, and watch as everything around you changes effortlessly. Your reality is about to shift, not because you forced it, but because you finally remembered the truth. It's already done. Creation is finished. This simple truth carries a depth that can transform the way you see yourself, your desires, and the life unfolding around you. When a desire arises within you, it is not the beginning of creation. It is the moment you become aware of something that is already complete in the unseen. The desire itself is evidence that the reality you seek exists right now in a dimension beyond physical sight. You are not trying to build your dream from scratch. You are aligning yourself with a version of reality that is already established. Everything you want, every dream, every breakthrough, every answered prayer exists as a finished state. Your role is not to struggle, force, or chase. Your role is to recognize, accept, and embody the version of yourself who already possesses what you desire. You don't create outcomes by effort, you create them by identity. The moment you feel the desire, you are shown a glimpse of a reality that is yours. It is like a whisper from your higher self saying, "Here it is. It's done. Now become the one who receives it." Alignment is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. And alignment begins internally. You shift your focus from "how will this happen" to "it is already mine." Instead of thinking in terms of time, you begin thinking in terms of states. You enter the state of the wish fulfilled, feeling, imagining, and accepting the outcome as your present truth. When this inner shift occurs, the world outside must eventually conform. Because the physical world is nothing more than a mirror, reflecting your dominant inner assumptions. Reality does not create your state creates your reality. If you continue to feel lacking, waiting, or hoping, you remain aligned with a version of reality where the desire is distant. But if you step into the feeling of having already received, you tune yourself to the frequency of the fulfilled desire, and just as a radio cannot pick up a station it is not tuned to, you cannot receive what you have not yet aligned with. Creation being finished means there is no need to worry about the how. The how is not your job. The path is not your responsibility. Your only responsibility is the acceptance of the end. Everything that needs to unfold will do so in perfect order without strain or struggle. Life will orchestrate the details, move the pieces, and rearrange circumstances to match your internal decision. What feels like coincidence is alignment. What feels like luck is resonance. What feels like a miracle is simply a reality you finally matched. When you stop trying to create and start aligning with what already exists, peace replaces pressure, certainty replaces doubt, confidence replaces fear. You no longer chase outcomes. You attract them naturally because you become the version of yourself who lives in that reality. Creation is finished means you are never waiting for your manifestation. You are only waiting for your self-concept to catch up with the truth. The moment you accept that what you desire is already complete, your inner world shifts and your outer world follows. This is the essence of effortless manifestation, not forcing reality, but remembering that it is already done. Imagination is not a fantasy, a daydream, or an escape from reality. It is the true architect of reality itself. Everything that exists in your life began as an inner picture, long before it took form in the physical world. The thoughts you allow, the emotions you nurture, and the scenes you entertain in the quiet of your mind are the seeds from which your experiences grow. The world you walk through today is nothing more than a reflection of what you have imagined, consciously or unconsciously. Imagination precedes reality because the inner image is the cause and the outer world is simply its unfolding effect. When you imagine, you are not pretending, you are selecting a state. You are choosing the version of yourself you wish to embody and the reality you wish to live. The mind does not differentiate between what is real and what is vividly imagined. It responds to the feeling of the image, and because your inner state is the blueprint, your outer world must eventually mirror it. Reality is not created from action first. It is created from assumption, feeling, and belief. Your imagination is the workshop where your future is shaped. Most people live reactively, giving their imagination to fear, doubt, and limitation. They replay old scenes, relive old failures, and unknowingly project those same patterns into the future. The world then reflects these inner images back to them, and they assume reality is happening to them, but reality is only echoing what they have been imagining all along. When you change your inner image, you change the script of your life. The shift begins invisibly, quietly, internally, and then in time, the outer world rearranges to match it. To use imagination consciously is to claim your power. It means you no longer let the visible world dictate your beliefs. Instead, you allow your chosen inner vision to dictate your future. You go inward first, planting the exact seed you desire to see grow. You imagine the scene that implies the fulfillment of your wish, feeling it real, accepting it as done, and returning to it with persistence. When the inner image becomes natural to you, the outer world must reflect it. This is not magic, it is law. The outer world is always delayed, it is slow. It reflects past thoughts, past assumptions, past feelings. This is why the present moment doesn't always show the result of your new inner work. But if you persist, if you remain loyal to the inner picture, the physical world has no choice but to conform. The unseen always becomes the seen. The invisible always becomes the visible. What you imagine with feeling becomes your lived experience. Imagination precedes reality because imagination is creation. The world you see with your physical eyes is the after effect, the echo, the shadow of the world you first saw within. When you grasp this truth, you stop reacting and start creating. You stop fearing circumstances and start shaping them. You begin to live intentionally, deliberately, powerfully. Your imagination is your greatest tool, your inner sanctuary, and your direct connection to everything you desire. When you choose your inner image deliberately, your reality cannot resist. It must unfold in perfect alignment with the vision you hold within. To assume the end is to step into the identity of the version of yourself who already has what you desire. It is not wishful thinking, not hope, not waiting. It is the deliberate choice to accept the outcome as present, real, and already yours in consciousness. When you assume the end, you shift from longing to living, from wanting to being, from imagining to embodying. You no longer look at your desire as something distant. You see it as something fulfilled within you. This inner acceptance becomes the cause, and the outer world becomes the reflection. Assuming the end means living inwardly as if nothing is missing. The wish is not something you hope arrives. It is something you inhabit. You breathe from it, think from it, act from it, and feel from it. You become the person who has already crossed the finish line, and from that state you allow life to catch up. The outer world is always delayed, but it must eventually show what you consistently hold true within. The mistake many people make is approaching manifestation as a future event, something that will happen if they try hard enough, wait long enough, or stay positive enough. But assuming the end is not about looking forward, it is about looking inward. It is not about forcing reality to change. It is about accepting that the change has already happened spiritually. Once the inner shift occurs, the outer shift becomes inevitable. When you assume the end, you release the energy of desperation. You let go of questions like, when will it happen, or how will it come? Those questions belong to the version of you who does not yet believe. The version of you who already has the desire has no need for them. That version knows. That version rests. That version moves through life with a quiet confidence because the result is already secured. This does not mean you pretend. It means you embody. Pretending feels false. Embodiment feels natural. Pretending tries to convince the world. Embodiment knows the world will follow. You begin by choosing the feeling that matches the fulfilled desire. If your desire is love, you assume the end by feeling cherished and chosen now. Your emotional state becomes the evidence long before the physical world catches up. Assuming the end also means refusing to be swayed by temporary appearances. The outer world may not show the result immediately, but that does not mean the assumption is untrue. It means the old state is still dissolving. Just as a shadow lingers even after the object moves, your old circumstances may echo for a while, but your inner identity has already shifted, and reality must eventually align with the new state. When you live from the end, you align yourself with the frequency of fulfillment. You carry the posture, the expectation, the feeling of the person who already has what they desire. And because life mirrors who you are, not what you want, you allow the world to mold itself around your assumption. Persisting in the state of the wish fulfilled is the most vital part of manifestation. It is the bridge between the unseen and the seen, the invisible desire and its physical expression. Anyone can imagine the end for a moment, but only the ones who remain consistent in that inner state, despite appearances, experience rapid transformation. Persistence is not force. It is loyalty. It is the unwavering commitment to the inner reality you have chosen, even when the outer world has not yet aligned with it. When you persist in the state, you consciously return again and again to the inner feeling of it is done. You refuse to be defined by circumstances. You refuse to let delays discourage you. You refuse to let old patterns pull you back into doubt. The state of the wish fulfilled becomes your home, your inner residence, your dominant vibration. And because the outer world is always responding to your dominant state, consistency becomes the key to speed. Most people imagine the end once, feel good for a moment, and then fall back into fear, impatience, or worry when reality doesn't change immediately. That fluctuation slows the process because it keeps shifting the internal signal. It's like tuning a radio station and changing the frequency every few seconds. You will never hear the song clearly until you stay on the right station long enough for it to play out. Persistence stabilizes the signal. It aligns you with the version of reality that contains your desire. Persisting in the state does not mean forcing a constant high vibration or pretending to be happy every second. It means returning to the feeling of the wish fulfilled whenever you notice you've drifted away. It means choosing the inner truth over outer appearances. It means reminding yourself that the desire is already complete and you are simply allowing the physical world to catch up, even if doubts arise, and they will. You don't stay in them. You gently shift back into the state of fulfillment. The outer world often moves slowly because it is reflecting your past assumptions, not your current ones. If you remain persistent, the old reflections fade and the new reality emerges. This is where most people give up. They assume nothing is happening because they cannot yet see the change. But persistence is the act of holding the inner state long enough for the outer to mirror it. It is the process of overriding old patterns and installing new ones. To persist is to trust the unseen more than the seen. It is to prioritize the inner image over the external evidence. It is to claim your desire as your present identity, not your future hope. You are not waiting for proof. You are becoming the proof. And once the inner state becomes natural, once it becomes your emotional default, the physical manifestation must appear. It is law. The speed of your manifestation is directly tied to your commitment to the state. The more loyal you are to the inner feeling of fulfillment, the faster the world organizes itself around your assumption. Persistence collapses time. It pulls the unseen into the seen. It transforms desire into reality. The physical world you see around you, your circumstances, your challenges, your limitations, is not a reflection of your current power, but of your past assumptions. It is a delayed projection, a shadow of former beliefs, old emotional patterns, and previous states of consciousness. Because of this delay, the outer world often appears out of sync with your inner work. And if you don't understand this, the 3D world can easily intimidate you, distract you, or convince you that nothing is changing. But the truth is simple. The outer world has no authority over what is already done within you. It cannot stop a manifestation that has already been accepted in consciousness. Ignoring the evidence does not mean denying reality or pretending your circumstances don't exist. It means you refuse to let the outdated 3D world dictate what you believe. You stop giving it power. You stop interpreting temporary appearances as permanent truth. You recognize that everything in the physical realm is simply an echo, a reflection of the state you once occupied. By the time you see something in 3D, it is already old news. It is already past. It is the residue of your past self. When you understand this, you begin to hold your inner vision with greater confidence. You no longer panic when things seem unchanged. You no longer doubt yourself when delays appear. Instead, you look at the 3D world with neutrality, knowing it is slow, mechanical, and always steps behind the reality you have created within. Your imagination is the true cause. The 3D world is only the effect, and effects cannot overpower their cause. Ignoring the evidence is one of the most powerful disciplines in manifestation because it shifts your focus from reaction to creation. Most people live reactively, allowing circumstances to shape their thoughts and emotions. But true manifestation requires the reverse. Your inner state must shape the circumstances. To achieve this, you must learn to prioritize the unseen over the seen. You must trust the inner knowing more than the outer noise. The old reality may continue to echo for a while, just like a bell continues to ring even after it has been struck. But if you persist in your new assumption, the echo eventually fades. The new reality must take its place because consciousness always wins. What is done within cannot remain unseen without. Ignoring the evidence also strengthens your self-concept. It teaches you to stand firm in your own inner authority. You become unshakable, unmoved, untouchable by appearances. You no longer chase results or beg circumstances to change. Instead, you hold the state of your fulfilled desire with calm certainty, knowing the world will adjust itself accordingly. Every great shift in life requires the courage to believe in what you cannot yet see. The moment you choose the inner reality over the outer appearance, you reclaim your power. You stop being a victim of circumstances and become the creator of them. And when you hold the inner truth long enough, the 3D world must yield. A true shift begins long before anything in the physical world moves. It begins quietly, subtly, powerfully within you. The moment you change your inner assumption, the moment you adopt a new identity, the moment you accept the fulfillment of your desire in consciousness, a chain reaction is set in motion. This inner shift is not symbolic, it is literal. It is the true moment of creation. And once this inner transformation occurs, the outer world must rearrange itself to match it. The shift becomes inevitable, not by force, but by natural law. Your inner state is the blueprint of your life. It is the vibrational pattern, the psychological atmosphere, the energetic signature that determines what you attract and what you experience. When you shift this state, when you move from lack to fulfillment, from fear to confidence, from desire to realization, you alter the core pattern that your reality is built upon. The external world cannot continue reflecting the old version of you once the inner architecture has changed. It must update itself to match your new identity. This process may feel invisible at first, because the physical world is slow, it is dense, delayed, and reflective. But the moment the inner shift occurs, the old outer reality begins to dissolve. Situations change, people shift, opportunities emerge, obstacles fade. Sometimes subtly, sometimes dramatically, but always inevitably. The outer world cannot resist the internal command. The key is understanding that the inner shift is the real manifestation. The external manifestation is simply the physical expression of what has already unfolded inside you. You do not need to push, chase, or force changes in the 3D world. You only need to maintain loyalty to your new inner state. When your inner weather changes, your outer climate must follow. Think of the old reality as momentum, an echo, a reflection of who you used to be. Even after the inner change, the echo may linger for a while. This is the period where many people doubt themselves. They assume nothing has changed because their senses have not yet caught up. But the shift is already in motion. The moment you refuse to return to the old state, the old reality begins to lose its power. It begins to fade, weaken, unravel. The new assumption grows stronger with every moment you inhabit it. Your only real task is to remain stable in the new state, to stop revisiting old doubts, to stop checking the 3D world for proof, to stop dipping back into previous versions of yourself. Every time you return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you reinforce the inner shift. You strengthen the new identity. You deepen your alignment with the future that already belongs to you. Once the inner shift is complete, the manifestation becomes inevitable because reality cannot contradict consciousness. It cannot produce experiences that do not align with your dominant inner truth. It must conform to the state you consistently occupy. This is the natural law of creation. So trust the inner transformation. Trust the subtle changes you feel. Trust the new identity you are stepping into. The moment you shift within, your world begins to move around you. Sometimes quietly, sometimes quickly, sometimes unexpectedly, but always deliberately, always precisely, always in perfect harmony with your new inner reality. In the end, everything you seek is already within you, waiting for your recognition. The moment you choose the inner state of fulfillment, your world begins to move in ways you cannot yet see. Your imagination shapes your path, your assumptions carve your destiny, and your persistence seals the outcome. You are not hoping for change. You are becoming the change. Trust the unseen. Honor the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and stand firm in the truth that your reality is already shifting in your favor. What is yours is not approaching, it is unfolding. Thank you for listening, and thank you for allowing yourself to remember the power that has always been yours.